And the bigger challenge was also to, we had a modest budget, and how do we do a kind of a very interesting and a platinum awarded building at a very modest budget. At the end of the day, our purpose is to enrich the lives of people.
Yes.
And that's what we are here for. You want to do a real good architecture. So one needs to break your comfort zone.
How do you, as an architect, define luxury in terms of Punjab? What kind of demands are getting generated? Because people are moving all across the world nowadays. I had a chance to meet architect Ar Badrinath Kaleru of Studioardete, Chandigarh, at one of his construction sites. Actually, we have been witness to seeing how this firm, led by Prerna and Badrinath, have been delivering great projects year after year. What started as a very casual visit quickly turned into an impromptu discussion. I'm sure you'll find this conversation very interesting and insightful. He has shared a lot of lessons that he's learned over the years during the 15-year-old journey. And I also learned one thing, that a raw, candid exchange like this proves that, to have great conversation, you do not always need elaborate setups. So what's going on? Which project is this?
So here, like, we are trying to work on a project where they are, some of it is industrial, some of it is actually having offices, certain exhibition spaces, and so it's like where we are working on something on the outside where it can blend into the city and can also have like a lot of dynamism into it. So it is something that it would be more like on a large scale. It will be very experimental and also very interesting to come.
It's kind of a mixed kind of a project.
Yes, yes.
Great. Looks good to see the progress.
Thank
Congratulations. And you are doing a lot of projects. Tell us about your office project.
When I was interning, so normally we used to work, like we worked in offices like Dominique Perrault in Paris, Jean-Michel Wilmot. So we have always used to having much bigger offices where there are so many things that actually an architect's office does see in a day-to-day life. And there is so much of thing that the space around it moves around. So that was a thing, and probably when we got onto it, it was a kind of a bold decision to actually experiment with our own project, where we can see to what extent we can stretch and to make it more spacious, more inviting, where every part of it, like when we say that offices like Google, like top IT giants, actually have like lot more than a working space. It has like lot more of creative spaces around it, which I think for like it's as important to designers as it's important to developers. So that's when the whole idea is like how can we make our spaces more inviting, more places where we can feel more at home and still create the best what we could. So that's the whole attempt of our office.
So I know that recently it has got some LEED certifications, right? Would you like to talk about that?
We are fortunate to say in our office category in across Punjab and northern part of India, we were the first project to have got certified platinum, which is a great motivation for us, because that was something when we wanted to start as like we wanted to do how we could do a project which was more sensible and more sustainable, and that was a thing that was on a list where we could use materials which are more sustainable and how the material palette can play around, and that's what and efficiency. So there were a lot of many things that were on the mind, and the bigger challenge was also to we had a mod budget, and how do we do a kind of a very interesting and a platinum awarded building at a very modest budget, because that was also very important to us, because normally people say that okay, when you have to go for a higher certification, there would be some amount of money that has to be spent into it. So we just crossed the line with a very modest budget, and thankfully we just crossed it.
Great. So how do you feel? What is the reaction of your team, of your clients who are visiting? What are the stories around it?
So it was like it's a sense of fulfillment, yes, that we take up a challenge, and when we fulfill and get to it, that's what it gives you, that encouragement, and it pushes your kind of the boundary of risk taking a bit more. So every time when you do something which is outside your comfort zone, you still push your comfort zone boundary to even further. So then it opens up lot many possibilities. That was the whole purpose how we have been practicing in our studio. It's like always try to push whatever we have done and see where we can get to the next level.
Okay, so continuously pushing the boundary, continuously pushing the creative limits. Yes. What are the upcoming projects?
There are quite a few projects, but something which are very exciting to us is like where we are doing a very a project which is actually like a Shanti Sthal, which is for kind of a community of one of the sub-community of a Jain community, where it has a kind of a school of thought. It's a newer faith institution which is actually 400 years old. So when we had to make something that was for a faith which you don't actually come from naturally. So to sensitize with that kind of faith is very important in terms of understanding their values, understanding their culture, how would it respond to it, and what could be, because everything symbology actually has different meanings across different cultures and different perceptions, how it actually evolves. And so that was something we feel like we are very blessed to get onto a project, and that is happening and it is bound to finish in next few months, and we are very excited about it. And it will be probably something that was a very small but a very calm space where somebody could connect to himself and to beyond materiality, I would say. And similarly, like, so we got opportunity to work with different faith institutions, even for we are doing a political monument in Punjab, which is pretty tall, and at the same time it is close to a religious institute. So how do we blend the sensitivity of a simple thing of because every gurdwara is supposed to have a tallest point, which is the highest point of the surrounding area, but that's very sensitive to them. But you're making a kind of a tall monument next to it, could also be very like it's not sensitizing to the particular context. So the first thing when we wanted to do it was we actually asked the client that can we actually make it even taller than what we are making it here, so that we are more responsible for it. And the whole idea of it was to how do we create, because we see that specifically in the state of Punjab, there's a lot of youth that moves on to other lands for their livelihood and a lot of other things. There's always a sense of vacuum that is created by the youth who have been moved on. So people who you knew since yesterday, and all of a sudden today they moved on to another country, other land and everything. There's always a sense of this vacuum. So how do you create positivity or new spirit, belongingness, and something which is aspirational to them, so that even because it's all about, all they hear is about people leaving from this part to going to other part, when actually when they can listen and conduct to that, people coming here to see something would actually change the complete equation. That's what we are working on.
Yes. Very, very interesting, Badri. What kind of demands are getting generated? Because people are moving all across the world nowadays. How do you see India moving from here and forward towards the next 5-10 years in terms of project ideas?
India is also becoming like a kind of a design center where even people started appreciating the kind of aesthetic and the design aesthetic where the Indian designers fraternity is coming into. And that's why we see like a lot of Indian architects getting work outside. And which is also very encouraging for the community as such, because like now we are a growing large economy, and so we would see that we are still in a kind of a world where we are seeing transformation every day, everywhere, and places are being transforming in last 3-4 years. So in this, there is also a demand for like having to create spaces which are futuristic.
Punjab is known for being in love with luxury, and which is many times not minimalistic but maximalist, right? So how do you as an architect define luxury in terms of Punjab?
I'm from Hyderabad, so I'm used to not having exposed to that sort of a luxury, because like down south people are more they have a different understanding of space and different way of going around the life. But when it came to Punjab, it was like it was initially like more like a cultural shock to a kind of cultural acceptance that I have evolved into. And to see that, because end of the day, like when an architect is actually neutral to the kind of taste setting, because like for example, as a chef, one would also always address to his audience and based on it indulge with the kind of recipes he makes and to address it to the audience. So similarly, like we find equal enjoyment in doing something which is more minimal and clean. At the same time, it's also even fun to do things which are maximal, detailed and everything. Because end of the day, it's like it's about how the whole architectural space making is also about the personal user's taste and the kind of audience that we are looking at. And audience are very different, like in food and fashion, it's very different. So one has to know the audience, respect the audience, look at it and see, because end of the day, our purpose is to enrich the lives of people.
Yes.
And that's what we are here for. And that enrichment can only happen once you understand their needs and understanding or aspirations of spaces and blend it into it. That's when we can create a synergy of
So
interest.
what I think is that whatever routes you take any of the routes, name it anything, ultimately it has to go to one point: satisfaction of the client and good living conditions. Would you like to give any message to the young architects?
What I would say is like when you are young, you actually have more appetite for taking more risks. You have more appetite for giving your best and trying to push your boundaries to maximum. When you're young, you don't have a lot of responsibilities of family and lot many other things. So I would always say that when you start young, break your comfort zone to the fullest. So I would always say that questioning is a good approach to always ask why you're doing what you're doing and what primary purpose of what you're doing. If it is you want to do a real good architecture, so one needs to break your comfort zone, work around strong and give your fullest what you can give. And don't be like connected to the result. Keep doing it, you'll get your results in time. That's what like I think Krishna also tries to say.
Okay. So what he says is experiment, explore and do your best. Like don't have any limits, don't look at boundaries. And who else can say this? I've seen him breaking boundaries. I've seen him exploring and here he is doing so much of good work. So all the best, Badri. Any message for Surfaces Reporter magazine?
Surfaces is very close to our hearts because this has been, it has encouraged us right from our initial days and it has always been kind of a go-to thing where we could always want to look up to, because yes, because not many people actually tries to work on the material which is part of this particular thing. Because sometimes for young designers it's also important for us to understand how do we express our medium. I would say that it makes this particular like editorial much different from others where it is primarily focused on design. Really happy and really wish you all the best for all your future.
Thank you, Badri, for this time and see you again in some other project, working as hard as you have always been doing, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the conversation and found value in it, stick around. There's so much more coming your way. Follow Surfaces Reporter at Verticaa Dvivedi for real stories, fresh ideas and unscripted moments that just might spark your imagination. And don't forget to hit the bell icon